Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Solo Leveling Season 2, Episode 13. You aren't E-Rank, are you? Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in the episode. So, the episode begins with Jinwoo attending his younger sister's parent-teacher meeting, obviously because their dad is missing and their mother is in the hospital. He's her guardian, so he goes to the meeting, and the teacher has no issues or concerns with Jinna. However, she does have an issue with Jinna's friend, who has quit school because she became a hunter, and since Jinwoo is also a hunter, she asks him to assist her with this student if he's willing. And we then see Jinwoo going to visit Han Sung-yi at her home, and she recognizes him from. She was one of the people they hired when they were doing the solo raids on the dungeons to fill up the numbers. And she basically gets confrontational, saying she's not going to quit. She wants to be a hunter, even though she's only E rank. And he then takes her with him to basically, I guess, show her what it's like to be an E rank in an actual dungeon. And they go to the recruiter from last season with the White Tiger Guild is asked a favor by Jinwoo, who asks to go into one of the White Tiger Guild's dungeons, and he's then allowed to enter one of their C rank training dungeons, which is meant to train the newer members of the guild. And Han Sung-yi is allowed to go in with him as well. However, as soon as they enter, it turns into a red gate, and the difference between a regular gate and a red gate is basically that the red gate forces either a dungeon break or the clearing of the dungeon, so they can either clear the dungeon, which will close it and open the red gate, allowing them out, or they have to stay trapped inside and survive until the dungeon break naturally occurs, which will allow them to then go out alongside all of the monsters that will be unleashed on the unwitting public. So the Red Gate is considered to be very serious, and because it's considered very serious, the leader of the expedition decides that he can't handle dead weight, so he's going to leave behind all of the lowest ranking members, including, of course, the two E ranks, and he goes off to try to defeat the dungeon and hunt the boss. Meanwhile, Jinwoo and his few companions, being abandoned, go into the forest where the ice bears are to gain safety. So basically, the ice elves are the main monster in the dungeon. However, they are intelligent monsters. So rather than risk facing the intelligent monsters, they go into the ice bears territory, as they're a beast type monster and therefore should be easier. That is where Jinwoo basically reveals that he is not E rank. He gives everybody coats. Because he has access to a store, obviously, so everybody gets coats. They set up a nice little campsite. He hunts the ice bears. They have something to eat. They're basically living the high life while everybody's out trying to fight the dungeons. Meanwhile, Jinwoo, basically to test his new shadow army, goes against the ice bears, and there's this epic battle of the shadow soldiers versus the ice bears, and then Igris versus the boss of the ice bears. And ultimately, of course, Jinwoo's side wins, and Igris brings him the head of the ice bear leader, field boss, monster. And while all this is going on inside of the gate, Dong-soo, who is the brother of the lizard from earlier in season 1 and an S rank, arrives in Korea, openly proclaims that he plans to kill Jinho and Jinwoo, and the basically because he's an S rank, nobody has any attempt to stop him. He decides to kill the E rank first before he kills the D rank, and he heads over to the dungeon. However, upon finding the red gate, even with the powers of an S rank, he can't get in because as much as they're trapped inside the dungeon, everybody else and all help and aid are trapped outside the dungeon. And ultimately, because of his busy schedule, he decides to leave. He can kill him another time. So Jinwoo gets lucky, essentially. But that is everything that happened in this episode. So now that we have been reminded about what happened in this episode, we'll now rank the episode. First, we'll rank on the mostly objective ranking list, which, as a reminder, uses set values to determine the score, and is mostly objective because bias and judgment can still apply. And on the personal ranking list, which uses entertainment value and my own personal opinion to determine where that one sits. So, mostly objective rank values first. We have a multi-episode supporting character introduction, which is one of the weaker members left behind with Jinwoo, and that is Do Myung-hwan. And then we have, so I understand right now there are only 2 seasons, at least at the time I'm filming this. Well, I don't know if you could call it filming, I'll say recording is probably more apt. Anyways, at the time that I'm recording this, there is only the 2 seasons out, and I think a movie is about to come out, or may have already come out. I don't do movies on this channel, at least not currently, so we're not watching that here. But season 3 is announced, has not come out. I am preemptively considering Kim Chul a multi-season supporting character. Season 2 has been out for a while, so I'm assuming everybody, because this is a rewatch, has seen it. But Kim Chul, and I mean, obviously, even if you haven't seen the anime, you probably read the manhwa if you like the anime, because the manhwa is honestly better. But anyways, Kim Chul becomes a shadow, which means once he's a shadow, he's with the main character, one of his fighters. He will be in every season going forward for as long as there are seasons, and most likely any movies coming out in the future, as long as they bring out movies. And therefore, preemptively, I feel like I can call him a multi-season supporting character, even though I acknowledge that as of right now, he's only in this season, because the next season hasn't released yet. Though honestly, with my bonus series, I do film ahead, so season 3 could already be out by the time I'm deciding to post this series, but I find that unlikely. Because I feel like season 3 is still far enough away that this most likely will be posted before then, but can't guarantee it. Just know my bonus series, I do film ahead because they're bonuses, so I film them when I have time, and then once I'm finished them, I start posting them on random days when I feel like I want to put out an extra video. So, anyways, that is why he is getting 3 points as a multi-season supporting character, because any future seasons that come out, he will for sure be there because he becomes a shadow, but not in this episode. Then we have the world building piece, which is the introduction of red gates into the world, which we have not seen before, as well as getting their explanation from all of the people both in the dungeon and outside the dungeon, explaining it to themselves and each other to explain it to the audience vicariously. And then that brings us to all of the positive points, but there were some negative messaging and behaviors in this episode. First, of course, we have Hwang Dong-soo, who comes in and is like openly announcing his plan to murder 2 people in a dungeon, and we'll get away with it because no one is trying to stop him because he's S rank. And in no world would that be okay. I mean, in this world, because of his strength, they have no choice but to let him, because if they tried to stop him, they'd all end up dead. Which I guess implies that he's stronger than the S ranks in Korea. having left the country, perhaps. But either way, the point is they're going to let him murder these two people. Um, if not for the Red Gate, he would have murdered them and gotten away with it, and that is not okay. So I took 2 points for that one. And then I also took 2 points for Kim Chul, who was the leader of the expedition, an A rank hunter who was put in charge in order to, ensure everybody's safety under the understanding that he was taking in people with lower ranks who were new to hunting. That's why it's a training exercise. And the very first thing that he decides to do as a leader is, well, I'm just gonna abandon everybody I don't think is strong enough. And like Go Myung Hwan, he wanted to go with him because he expected him to be stronger at the start, being the A rank, and was literally forcefully abandoned by Kim Chul because he was not deemed to be strong enough. Of course, at the end of the episode, we do see Kim Chul running away from the ice elves while everybody else is dead, and they and he have not had a good time of it. He looks frostbitten, he seems to be hungry, and he's running in terror and fear. So ultimately, I think Go Myung Hwan benefited from being abandoned, but the fact is, he was the leader of the expedition and he decided to leave half of his expedition to probably die knowingly and willingly, and that also to me is not a good thing to do. So, again, another 2 points for that, which does ultimately leave us with 5 out of 10. And of course, it's the first episode of season 2, therefore, You Aren't E Rank, Are You? Is in first place. Personal ranking for this episode, so contrary to the objective ranking, I really did enjoy this episode. I think it builds tension with Hwang Dong-soo coming in and being like, I'm gonna kill these two people, while they're completely unsuspecting of the fact that he has a grudge against them in the first place, and it's only actual dumb luck that he gets stuck behind a red gate and manages to survive because he's not at S rank strength yet, though he's getting there. He's getting close, I would say, obviously. Um, and then we get in the red gate. It's a beautiful wintry scene. I love winter. I love cold tones. I love the cold. Basically, it's a setting right up my alley. So I love that whole vibe. Additionally, the battle with the ice bears was epic. It's the first time we get to see his army that he created at the end of the last season in action. And they do a good job of animating it, I think. So ultimately, for myself, I was highly entertained by this episode. I very much enjoyed it. Even the first part, which was a little more boring than, say, the second half when he was in the dungeon, when he was at the teacher meeting, you know, he there's a little bit of comedy in there as when he goes to visit his sister's school, all the students are like in awe of him because he had his big glow up. And he even glowed up further because even before going, he decided to get another haircut and wear like a suit. So everybody's in shock and awe, and even his own sister is like, are you even my brother? Like, who are you? Are you sure you're Jinwoo? Which I found quite amusing. So ultimately, really liked this episode, and that's why I decided to give it a 9 out of 10, which puts it in first place. You aren't E rank, are you? Then we come to the series ranking so far, and our only completed season is season 1, therefore it is currently in first place. And then we have season 2, 5 out of 130 on the mostly objective side, but strong start with a 9 out of 130 on the personal ranking side. But with that, we have now rewatched and ranked Solo Leveling Season 2, Episode 13, You Aren't E Rank, Are You? Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.